Well, here we are. It's induction night for the Oregon Music Hall of Fame, and here we are with one of the best music industry lawyers in the business, Bart Day, our newest inducted member into the Hall of Fame.
Good
Welcome.
to be here. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
What a huge, huge honor.
It is. It really is.
Talk about what that means to you.
Well, it really means a lot in the sense of particularly not being a musician, to be inducted here and to feel welcomed in that way. Usually lawyers aren't not probably the first people they think of when they think about people to induct into something like this. So yeah, it's a huge honor, and I've been a supporter. I've come to all these events, so I was pretty shocked when I found out I was being inducted, but it's awesome.
You're kind of a behind-the-scenes guy. It must be kind of nice to get out and get in front of the spotlight.
Well, it's a different experience because I'm giving a speech tonight with everyone else is on stage all the time. I'm not used to being on stage, so it's a little a different kind of experience, but it's fun. Yeah.
So, music law. Talk about how the music business has changed over the years.
It's become much more DIY, and Portland has changed a lot too. I started doing this in Portland in 1990. Portland at that time was, I don't know what to call it, a backwater, but it was pretty much on the fringes of the music business. And if there was an A&R person in town, you pretty much everybody knew that was in town. And things gradually changed, and now it's there's so many people here that have national careers that are not necessarily trying to be all that visible locally. They want to live here. They have national touring careers. So it's very different in that sense. It's become more of a bigger city than a smaller town like it was when I first started in the music business sense.
So, enlighten us. I'm a musician. Why do I need a lawyer? What are some pitfalls? What are some things that I could bump into that it would be good to have a lawyer on hand for?
Well, I would say the first thing is not getting entangled in relationships with people that you will spend a lot of time getting out of, and people that can't really help you. They're going to just divert you from what it is that you want to accomplish. So I always tell people before you have me look at a contract, make sure that this is a person that you want to be doing business with and in partnership with, because it's a long-term relationship, and it's a lot easier to get into these relationships than to get out of them sometimes. And I've had some very difficult situations with clients that got into either recording agreements or management agreements, and sort of got in the clutches of people that had sort of a shark attitude. And it was really hard on the people just to sort of survive their way through it.
So I can't tell you how many record company horror stories I've heard, and especially the earlier days of the industry, where the talent just basically got milked to dry from the business end, from the record companies. Have things evened out at all over the years, or do you need a lawyer when you get involved with a record company, if there even is such a thing as a record company anymore?
Well, there certainly are record companies. It's become less necessary than it was at one time, when you had to have distribution, you had to have those channels. People can survive and have cottage industry careers now without having to be involved with a record company. So it's opened a lot of opportunities in that sense, and the record companies that are there. I mean, there are some great independent labels, and there are people that are on major labels that have great experiences. But for the typical artist that is negotiating a contract that has very little leverage, signing an agreement with a major label is much different than it used to be. The recording budgets are much lower. You never know whether they're just going to throw your music against the wall and see if it sticks. And so everything about a major record company deal that people used to aspire to, much less attractive now. So many more people are looking to figure out how they can create independent careers.
And do you have artists coming to you with problems getting their fair share from music streaming services?
The music streaming services are problematic because I have a sort of a theory that the less money there is, the longer the royalty statements are, and so you get pages and pages and pages of plays that are .006 cents per play. So you'll get thick royalty statements and not very much money from it. So it's complicated because a lot of the major labels have business relationships with the Spotifys of the world, and it's hard to know exactly where the money, to follow the money sometimes from those companies to the record company. You don't know that all that money is getting reported to the artist and whether the artist is getting their fair share. So it's much more complicated. And in the old days, when it was all physical sales, you could have a better sense of whether you were getting paid accurately because they were actually manufacturing records, and it was not 100% solid, but it wasn't in the cloud like it is now. So trying to do a record company audit now where the data is all digitized and the transactions are all digitized, it's difficult.
How'd you get into entertainment law? Was that your goal from the start, or did you?
Well, I was in bands like a lot of people in my early 20s, and probably everybody here tonight was in a band when they were in their 20s. And some of my friends that I was in bands with ended up working at labels, and so I kept relationships with them, and they sort of educated me about sort of what the inside of the business was like. And I was always wanted to be around music, and I had having a legal background, it seemed like it'd be a really interesting thing to do. And I was always sort of drawn to the idea of sort of working for the underdog. So once I started seeing how artists were treated, it was really appealed to me to see, what could I do to try to help people with it. And even before I decided to do entertainment law, I always wanted to use my legal training as a way to try to sort of level the playing field for people. So it was there being as many underdogs as there are in the music business, as far as artists not being treated well, seemed like a great way to go.
Well, from a little rock band somewhere in Portland to the Oregon Music Hall of Fame, quite a journey, huh?
It's been great.
Anything you want to leave us with us here tonight?
No, I just very grateful to be inducted here, and I appreciate your involvement in this and supporting the event. So it'll be a great evening.
Entertainment lawyer Bart Day, welcome.
Thank you.
To the Oregon Music Hall of Fame.
Thank you.